In the heart of Orange County, where the sun perpetually bathes the landscape in a golden glow, Sarah, a freelance photographer, religiously checks her weathered mailbox every morning. The rusted metal creaks open, revealing nothing but emptiness, a stark reminder of her fractured family ties. This daily ritual, though seemingly futile, has become an integral part of her routine, a silent hope for reconnection. One misty dawn, as Sarah's fingers brush against the cold interior of the mailbox, they encounter an unexpected texture. Puzzled, she withdraws a yellowed envelope, its edges frayed and time-worn. The postmark catches her eye. 1987, a year etched in her memory. With trembling hands, she turns the envelope over, her breath catching as she recognizes her own childish handwriting addressing it to herself. Heart pounding, Sarah carefully opens the fragile paper, extracting a single note inside. The faded ink carries a message that sends a chill down her spine. Sarah, whatever you do, don't answer the phone at midnight. Trust me. Her mind reels, struggling to make sense of this warning from her past self. In 1987, she was just 8 years old, living in the old Victorian house on Maple Street. The same house that mysteriously vanished without a trace one stormy night. As the day wears on, Sarah finds herself unable to shake the unsettling feeling that has taken root in her chest. The hours crawl by, each tick of the clock bringing her closer to the dreaded midnight hour. Despite her best efforts to distract herself with work and mundane tasks, her eyes keep darting to the phone, its presence now ominous and foreboding. When the digital clock on her nightstand finally flips to 11:59 p.m., Sarah's nerves are frayed to breaking point. She sits on the edge of her bed, eyes fixed on the phone, every muscle tense with anticipation. The seconds tick by, each one stretching into an eternity. At precisely midnight, the silence is shattered by the shrill ring of the phone. Sarah jumps, her heart leaping into her throat. The sound seems to reverberate through her entire being, each ring more insistent than the last. Her cat, usually aloof and unperturbed, darts under the bed with a frightened yowl. Sarah's hand hovers over the receiver, torn between the warning from her past and the overwhelming urge to answer. The ringing continues, relentless and unyielding. Unable to bear the tension any longer, she snatches up the phone, her voice barely a whisper as she says, "Hello?" For a moment, there's nothing but static on the line. Then, faintly at first but growing stronger, she hears the sound of a child crying. The sobs are punctuated by a young voice, her own voice from decades ago, pleading, "Help me, please. I'm scared." Panic grips Sarah as she realizes the gravity of her mistake. The room around her begins to shift and blur, reality seeming to bend and warp. When her vision clears, she finds herself no longer in her familiar bedroom, but standing in the foyer of the old Victorian house from her childhood. The air is thick with a scent of dust and decay. The once grand interior, now a shadow of its former self. Moonlight filters through grimy windows, casting eerie shadows across peeling wallpaper and worn floorboards. In the distance, she can still hear the faint sound of a child crying. With her heart hammering in her chest, Sarah takes tentative steps deeper into the house. Each creak of the floorboards under her feet sends a jolt of fear through her body. The crying grows louder as she approaches the stairs leading to the second floor. As she ascends, the temperature drops noticeably, her breath visible in the chilly air. At the top of the stairs, a long hallway stretches before her, lined with closed doors. The child's cries seem to emanate from the room at the far end, her old bedroom. Sarah's hand trembles as she reaches for the doorknob. It's ice cold to the touch, sending a shiver down her spine. Taking a deep breath, she turns the knob and pushes the door open. The room beyond is exactly as she remembers it from her childhood, frozen in time. Stuffed animals line the shelves, a small desk sits in the corner, and her old bed is neatly made with her favorite floral comforter. But it's the figure huddled in the corner that draws her attention. A small girl with her face buried in her knees, shoulders shaking with sobs. "Hello," Sarah calls out softly, her voice barely above a whisper. The child's head snaps up, revealing a face that Sarah knows all too well, her own, decades younger. The young Sarah's eyes widen with recognition and fear. "You came," she whispers, her voice trembling. "I've been waiting for so long." Before Sarah can respond, a loud crash echoes through the house, followed by heavy footsteps ascending the stairs. The young Sarah's face contorts with terror. "He's coming," she whimpers. "We have to hide." Instinctively, Sarah moves to protect her younger self, positioning herself between the child and the door. The footsteps grow louder, accompanied by the sound of something heavy being dragged across the floor. The door flies open with a bang, revealing a towering figure shrouded in shadows. Sarah can't make out its face, but she feels an overwhelming sense of malevolence radiating from it. The figure takes a step forward, its form seeming to absorb the light around it. In that moment, Sarah realizes the true nature of the danger she faced as a child, a threat she had buried deep in her subconscious, only to be awakened by the mysterious letter. This was the reason her family had fled in the night, leaving everything behind. As the shadowy figure looms closer, Sarah feels a small hand slip into hers. She looks down to see her younger self, eyes filled with determination despite her fear. "Together," the child whispers. "We can face it together." With a surge of courage, Sarah squeezes the child's hand and turns to confront the menacing presence. As they stand united, past and present merged into one, a blinding light begins to emanate from their joined hands. The shadowy figure recoils, its form beginning to dissipate in the face of their combined strength. The light grows brighter, engulfing the room, the house, and Sarah's entire field of vision. When it finally fades, she finds herself back in her bedroom, the phone lying on the floor beside her bed. The digital clock blinks 12:01 a.m., shaken but somehow lighter. As if a great weight has been lifted from her shoulders, Sarah picks up the phone and places it back on the nightstand. She notices a new text message on her cell phone, from an unknown number. With trembling fingers, she opens it to find 5 simple words. "Thank you. We are free now." As dawn breaks, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, Sarah makes her way to the mailbox once more. This time, when she opens it, she finds a crisp white envelope inside. The return address is her parents' home, a place she hasn't visited in years. With a mixture of trepidation and hope, she opens the letter to find a heartfelt note from her mother. Reaching out after years of silence, Sarah smiles, tears welling in her eyes as she realizes that by confronting the shadows of her past, she's opened the door to a brighter future. The rusty mailbox, once a symbol of loneliness and estrangement, now stands as a beacon of hope and reconnection. As she walks back to her house, letter clutched to her chest, Sarah feels a sense of peace wash over her. The long-forgotten ghosts of her childhood have finally been laid to rest, and a new chapter of her life is about to begin.